September 21st astrologically invites us to begin anew for numerous different reasons. So in today's video, let's dive into the weekly forecast for the week of September 21st to September 27th and how you can align to these energies to your benefit. Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm Isabel, your spiritual rebel friend, and today we are talking about the astrology forecast for the week of September 21st. In today's video specifically, I'm going to cover what may be coming up for you as a general theme or vibe this week, the astrological transits happening the week of September 21st through the 27th of 2025, things you may want to consider doing this week if you are feeling these energies, and the overall spiritual lesson that is being presented this week. And of course, if you're looking for further guidance, if you're feeling in a funk, if you have something happening in a certain area of your life that you can't understand why it's going on or how to navigate it, I invite you to book a reading down in the description box below, where in half an hour or 1 hour, we can dive deep into your soul's unique energetic imprint and how you are being impacted by the stars and how these can be the secret to your fulfillment and success. The link is in the description box down below. So with that all out of the way, let's get into this week's forecast astrologically, starting off with what may be just generally coming up for you this week. When I sat down to do my research for this week's astrology and send out my newsletter, really there was two major quotes that came to mind that I wanted to share with you guys to start off this video, just as I did in my weekly forecast newsletter. The first one is, "And now that you don't have to be perfect, you can be good." John Steinbeck. The other one is actually a poem by Shel Silverstein, that I read a lot as a kid, which is, "There are no happy endings. Endings are the saddest part. So just give me a happy middle and a very happy start." Now, I know that one sounds a little bit depressing. Anytime I tell anyone this poem, they get really mopey about it, or like, "Oh, that's so depressing." And it's not to say that this week is very depressing. In fact, this week is very liberating and it can feel like a breath of fresh air. But I think overall, over the past couple of weeks, which has been eclipse season in full force, we have often, I think, as astrologers, because eclipses can bring such fated, destined shifts, I think there's a tendency for a lot of people to feel like their hopes have been crushed. Oftentimes, a lot of us seem to be, including myself at times, waiting on a major change, waiting, in fact, for that turning point, that curveball to completely change our lives. And maybe you've had that happen with this eclipse season over the past couple of weeks, or maybe you haven't. And this week is a reminder to us that at any point we can start anew, that it's not about having this fairy tale happy ending where all the rainbows and sunshines and the perfect cursive letters go over the screen and the music starts. It's just about choosing to start from a happier place. And additionally, the reason I chose the other quote I did about being good over perfect is that with this desire maybe to just start, or with this energy reminding us to start, this is coming from a place of understanding that we don't have to be perfect to start, and that we can just be good human beings, and that's enough. So why exactly is this energy present? Overall, it may feel like, as a synopsis or summary, that there is a feeling of potential even defeat in the stars this week, but with that gives the opportunity to give ourselves grace and a feeling of, with exhaling what no longer serves us, we're able to breathe in a breath of fresh air. So why exactly do I say all this? Let's get into the three really only major transits that are happening this week and why they bring this energy. First off, we have a solar eclipse happening in the sign of Virgo at 29 degrees, which I already published a video going deep into the potential impacts that this solar eclipse is bringing that you can check out on my playlist that is Astrology Forecast. It's also probably pretty early still in the feed if you want to go find it on the videos tab. But point being, the solar eclipse brings fated new beginnings and opportunities. Now, this is the sign in which the South Node is transiting, which brings an energy of beginning anew based off of the things we have learned we want to let go of. And given that this is 29 degrees, 29 being the final degree of the wheel of that sign, Virgo, there's an energy of finality to our decisions. And so in a sense, it's an ending and a beginning all at once. And so with this solar eclipse in Virgo, we start off the week with having very strong conclusions, whether they're clear or not, about who we want to be and how we want to move through the world. This likely dominantly has to do with our relationship to judgment, perfectionism, criticism, and expectations that we put both on others and on ourselves, most importantly. And so I think that this solar eclipse can really bring this energy of, it's really time to change. I'm done with doing this and I'm choosing to do this instead. It's a liberation. It is a permission slip in many ways. And so given that this, I'm just realizing I have a typo on my newsletter. I'm sorry guys, my Mercury in Aries moves way too fast. So I'm glad you guys just overlooked the typos. If you don't, Virgos, just try to. I know it's annoying. So it's possible with this solar eclipse that you guys are having something new come into your life. Maybe something has initiated a new beginning, a new job opportunity, a new partner, a new place of living, new apartment, new something. Or this could simply put be a new mental realization. Oftentimes solar eclipses feel like powerful new beginnings, but they're not clear. And that is because solar eclipses leave us in the dark, just as new moons leave us in the dark. So it feels like something's happening even if we can't see it. And because this is happening in Virgo, this is why I've chosen the quote, being perfect, being good over being perfect. Now that you don't have to be perfect, you can be good, is because I think this solar eclipse brings up an energy of liberation this week of saying, I'm tired of trying to have it all figured out. I'm tired of expecting the world of myself. I'm tired of expecting the world of others. I'm tired of expecting the world to be a certain way. This is about releasing the unhealthy Virgo traits in our life, which is perfectionism, criticism, judgment, materialism, hyperrealism in some sense, where we're just being too focused on the material and how things should be. And so hence why I've chosen the quotes. So the solar eclipse on the 21st kicks off our week in a very maybe intense setting of giving ourselves radical permission to just be good. In the end, Virgo energy reminds us that we want to be of selfless service. And sometimes the best way to be of service is to stop criticizing, whether that's criticizing ourselves or others, and just accept our humanity. Now, secondarily, this week, on the 22nd of September, we have Mars entering Scorpio, beginning a new phase. So the second beginning we have of this week, the solar eclipse brought a new beginning, a new moon, and then Mars enters Scorpio, entering a new cycle. Wherever Mars transits, this is how we can be encouraged to take action. Now, we do have our natal Mars still, which tells us what our natural action style is. But wherever Mars transits, this is maybe where we want to put in a bit more effort to gain more reward, get things done, and to simply enjoy life. So with Mars in Scorpio, we're all being called to do things in a bit more of an obsessive, intense, and deep way. Mars in Scorpio reminds us to wear our heart on our sleeve in many ways. Though Scorpio tends to be mistrusting, it reminds us the value of intimate connection. We want to do things that embrace passion and obsession. And so if there has been a passion or obsession on the back burner in your life, maybe it's time to revisit that this week. And additionally, I think with that idea of Scorpio, Mars and Scorpio inviting us to wear our heart on our sleeves, the reason for that being that Scorpio's role in the zodiac wheel is to remind us that depth is needed for fulfillment. And I like to think of depth as, diving into the water, where sometimes it can be a bit uncomfortable trying to dive deeper, where it feels like there's pressure and it's cold. And so there can be this energy that comes up with bringing depth to life. That is vulnerability, simply put. Scorpio reminds us of vulnerability and radical authenticity and wearing our heart on our sleeve and sharing our deeper shadow sides. And so this week, you may feel called to once again be good over perfect by sharing that heart, being vulnerable, just seeking depth, even if that's a messy and confusing process. As far as Mars in Scorpio, where it's affecting you, that's going to be based off of the sign that is the house that Scorpio is in your chart. So I would recommend looking at your birth chart and looking at what house Scorpio is according to your sign, or counting from your sun sign. But really just ask yourself this week, how can I try to be more immersed in life? You know, being immersed in life, being vulnerable and deep with life takes courage. So how can I just be even 2% more vulnerable in life? Finally, the last transit of this week, happening the same day as Mars enters the sign of the Scorpion, we have the Sun entering Libra. Another new beginning, the day after the solar eclipse peaks in the sign of Virgo. The sun heads directly into the sign of Libra, which invites us to prioritize harmony, balance, and lighthearted connection, to prioritize understanding others. Again, depending on the house that Libra is in your chart, that changes where exactly you're being called to prioritize balance and harmony. And I will touch on that more in my October horoscopes. So subscribe to the channel and turn on post notifications for your horoscope release for your sign. But as the sun enters Libra, it's not even just that we feel called to, with Mars and Scorpio, do things that we're invested in, but we're called to do this all in a way that is balanced and harmonious. How can we just be a good person to ourselves and others? Overall, this combination of Libra and Scorpio energies this week brings a desire to connect with others and leave behind the self-critical judgments along the way, and maybe even the judgments of others, because in the end, Virgo energy wants to help. But with this solar eclipse, we're realizing that maybe our way of helping doesn't need to be so perfect. And by giving ourselves that permission, we can greater connect with others and support them. As we have this Libra energy present, we're called to just connect and make people feel understood. Overall, if you're looking for your key checklist or to-do list of things to potentially do this week, especially if anything I've said has resonated for you as something you're experiencing, here are some things that you may be rewarded for taking action on and prioritizing. In the end, with a new moon, a Mars transit, and a sun transit, we have 3 kinds of action styles and things recommended. New moons are a time for emotional intention setting, connecting with our heart space and saying, this is how I want to feel, this is who I want to be, this is what I'm gonna do because it's gonna make me feel this way. Mars transits call us to act. How can I do things that are more blank? And sun transits tell us, what do I want to prioritize? What do I want to nurture? So with these 3 transits in mind, the solar eclipse in Virgo, Mars entering Scorpio, and the sun entering Libra, above all else, I'd recommend at the beginning of the week, writing out a list of the judgments, behaviors, expectations that you're ready to release. You could even make this like a ritual practice, put it on a piece of paper and burn it, if that feels something that you'd be called to do. Simply put, identifying the behaviors we want to leave in the past and the supplementary behaviors you want to implement. After all, this is a new moon solar eclipse, so kind of the concept is, it's easier to quit a habit when you replace the habit. It's easier to not open your phone when you dedicate yourself to opening a book. It's easier to not drink if you're gonna drink soda instead or something, I don't know. You get the point. So making a list of the things you're gonna leave behind and what you're gonna implement instead, even if it's an act of non-doing and a thought process you'll remind yourself, can be very helpful at the beginning of this week. Secondarily, I'd really recommend connecting with others this week. Given that we have, as of the 22nd, the sun in Libra and Mars in Scorpio, connection can feel like a priority in any area of our life, or a certain area of life, depending on your sign. And so with this combo of energies, I would really recommend potentially prioritizing connection, vulnerable, understanding, accepting connection. How can you bring both depth and harmony to the table? How can you bring depth and lightheartedness all in one? Because really we can. Additionally, wow, I have a lot of typos in this blog, guys, but I think you guys get my newsletter, because that's what I'm referencing here. But my apologies, sorry, not sorry, because I think you get the point. Think about the way you could serve others if you didn't let perfectionism get in the way. If you were gonna release expectations, judgments, and criticisms, how would you better be able to serve people? I know for me that something I've talked about in my October horoscopes, which you'll hear me say, and something I try to keep in mind when, at least in example, I create videos, is I tend to get perfectionistic about how long things should be and cutting out all my stutters and making sure the content's as clear as possible. But sometimes that can be a level of perfectionism that keeps me from actually just sharing the messages I think you guys need to hear. And so for me, what I do when I think about this thought of what if I didn't let perfectionism get in the way, it's really trying to be objective and pay attention to the impact the things you do create. So maybe it's not about digital content creation for you. Maybe it's, if I was less hard on myself in social interactions for saying, you have social anxiety, you're terrible at this. What if that perfectionism was gone? Could I actually listen to this person more? Or maybe it's, it could be anything here, the point being. I would also two last notes I will make, and there's more of these on my weekly newsletter that you should have received today, but if you didn't, subscribe now so that you get next week's. Prioritize your personal passions and speak kinder words to yourself. I think in the end, what may be coming up for a lot of us is our judgments on the world come from a judgment on ourselves. And so if we can release that judgment, we can truly release we can really come from a more giving place. And prioritizing personal passions, depth, and connection could be a helpful way to do that. So to wrap up this video, a little bit long, but again, not trying to judge myself for it at least. Hopefully you guys like it. Please drop a comment down below if you liked this video today. What is your spiritual lesson or reminder this week? And though I have many typos, I am gonna just read off of my newsletter here because I think I say it better in writing here than I will be able to trying to reiterate it. But overall, the energy of this week really does remind us that good is better than perfect. Good is perfect. And again, that we don't need always, maybe what we think we're looking for, that happy ending, maybe that's not what we're looking for. Maybe we just are looking for permission to start and be easier on yourself. So if you take anything away from this week, it's how can I be easy on myself? Your spiritual reminder is being hard on yourself does no one any good. As I said in my blog, I keep calling it a blog, but you guys get the point in my newsletter. In my view, this week brings two major reminders for us. The first is realizing that a perfect self, perfect life, perfect job, perfect reality is unattainable. You unlock the ability to be truly good to others and yourself when you accept this. And second is that sometimes we all need to change our lives, or all that we need to change our life is to start. I think oftentimes we find ourselves, as I said at the beginning of this video, just waiting for the next big transit to change things. And that's partly the detriment, I will say, of astrology in general, which it's hard to not get caught up in, is here's the next big thing, here's the next big thing. I will be honest, I add to that fire with my videos talking about get ready for 2 days from now. But at the same time, hence why I just bring it up to you now, that your life can change in an instant. It can change right now, and all you have to do is start. Maybe you have to just release. Maybe you have to let go. Maybe you have to just shift perspectives. Maybe you have to be less judgmental and think less linearly. A final thought I did share in my blog that really connects to the energy of this week, and I keep calling it a blog, but it doesn't really matter, even though it's not what it is. Maybe I should publish them as blogs. Would you guys like if I publish these as blogs so that they're evergreen and you don't have to receive them just on the newsletter? Let me know down in the comments below. But the last thought I shared that I felt called to in regards to the energy of this week, especially with the Libra Scorpio energy, is did you know that when sunflowers, which always allegedly face the sun, when they can't find the sun, they face another sunflower? And I know it sounds super cheesy, but really think about this week. When you cannot find the light of the Creator, who are your sunflowers? And is there someone who maybe has been in your life who seems to be really facing you? What if you are their sunflower? What if you're their sun to them? So that is what I have for you for the energy of this week. Let me know down in the comments below if you liked this astrology forecast, and if you liked it, be sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on those post notifications, because every Sunday I try to post a weekly forecast, and I also send out a weekly forecast newsletter on my email list. So join my email list down in the description box below. And thank you guys so much for watching this video. I sincerely hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you on the next one. From my heart to yours, namaste.